What's happening, ladies and gents? Welcome to another episode of the Ready for Anything podcast. Today, we're joined by our guest, Dan Reeve. Dan is actually my former coach and coached me right through, went out through the kilt one that you can see over there. If anyone's watching on YouTube, the t-shirt in the background, white one. Need to get a blue one of them one day. But yeah, Dan was my coach for a short period of time when I was in the high performance coach. And it was incredible. The guy's an absolute OG when it comes to everything hybrid. And we dive right into his story, his background, what gives him the credentials to be doing what he does. And it's an incredible episode with a lot of insightful stuff for anyone that's a bit of a fanatic about high rocks, endurance sport, lifting weights, hybrid performance. There's so much gold in this. So, guys, please enjoy the episode. I think what would be a kind of good way to start things, Dan, is just getting everyone up to speed on a brief insight to who Dan Reeve is. Like, just a bit of an insight. Like, I always say to people when I'm on a discovery call with them, imagine you were on my podcast and I was asking you your story. Now you are on my podcast. Like, what's your story, mate, just to get everyone kind of up to speed on who Dan Reeve is?
Personal, professional, the whole shebang, everything.
The whole shebang, mate. Go for it.
Whole shebang, mate. Uh, yeah, so Dan Reeve, I am a strength coach and I currently work as part of Joe Parrish's high performance coach. Uh, and I'm one of the coaches there. But my journey was played a lot of sport as a kid, like pretty much threw myself into everything. Uh, I'd say I was pretty athletic. And I think from being exposed to everything from such a young age, like 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, swim, tennis, like throwing, catching, playing football. I think that allowed me to have good motor skills and stuff, which has then allowed me to do pretty well from there onwards. Played football was my main sport. I did have an opportunity to go into swimming pretty deeply, but they give me an ultimatum. And if you give me an ultimatum, I'm always going to say, fuck you, I'm going to do the other thing anyway. So got into football pretty deeply. Played at Norwich till I was 18, so I got into the reserve team football. Stayed on at school, didn't like do my apprenticeship, which I had the opportunity to do, but decided to do my A levels instead. So I actually did maths, physics, business studies. So like straight away, you can see I'm quite a data driven person. Uh, I then decided to take a year out before going to uni and like gave football a shot. Played at Colchester United for a year. Carried on playing, but just sort of fell out of love with it when it was my first proper job. When I was had to go and train for a living, it seemed a bit weird, and I just couldn't get my head around it. Probably one of the only things I was a bit annoyed about that I haven't really given it a full crack at. But then went to uni, did a sports science degree, carried on playing footy as a semi-pro for like 3, 4 years after that. Good level, good standard, which then helped me obviously get through university. And then started working in a gym whilst I was at uni, and never thought about getting into it. Wasn't particularly a big lifter or really into it. Was just like an athlete from an athlete perspective, just like supporting playing my football and stuff. And then people just started saying, do you want to take sessions? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Obviously, I had the background in terms of the degree in sports science, but I didn't really know how to take sessions, didn't really know what, like, how to coach somebody or understand actually what a session should look like. So I did my PT course. That then gave me the sort of ground knowledge to then carry on. This was in London, so I worked in Kensington. Ended up thinking that I was going to go into accountancy or something, but ended up being a PT for 13 years there. So I was on the gym floor, worked with anybody and everybody you can possibly imagine, from people who worked in the hotel to your nurses, your doctors, your policemen, to your celebrities, your royalty, literally, and everything sort of in between, like big time stockbrokers, bankers, like rich housewives, literally everything. And literally 13 years on the gym floor. Towards the end, was doing sort of like between 40 and 50 sessions a week. So when people talk about 10,000 hours, we're talking 20,000 hours pretty much
Yeah.
on the gym floor work. And then fell out of love with it a little bit. Like, I don't think I was working with the people that I was. I was a driven athlete. I was like pushing myself. I'd started to compete outside of sort of football. I was getting into my endurance stuff at this stage. Started doing, because clients were doing them, days of like the Tour de France cycling. At this time, unfortunately, I lost my brother. I lost my brother to leukemia, and that sort of gave me a. My dad did a big challenge one year, walked to Germany to the Football World Cup, uh, and then sort of the eyes got looking at me afterwards. What are you going to do? Do something bigger? Got to beat sort of what your dad does. And I ended up looking for the biggest thing I could find on the internet at the time, which was something called a Decker Ironman, which is 10 times the distance of an Ironman. Obviously, like I said, I could swim. Obviously, I played football, I could run. So I just started doing a bit of cycling. I started cycling with some of my clients anyway. And yeah, became the second person in the UK to do a Decker Ironman. More people at the time had been to space, had done a Decker Ironman. Uh, and then, probably, like I said, as my career was sort of progressing, I started to then realize that these are the people I didn't really want to work with. I wanted to work with high performers. I wanted to work with people who are pushing. I wanted to stretch my boundaries. So I ended up traveling for a year, like a bit like almost like disconcerted with the industry to a degree, where it was heading, where I was heading. Probably more so the fact that I'd stayed in one place for so long. So I traveled Australia, worked in gyms over there, helped a mate set a gym up, did some studying, a lot of working with different mentors, did some stuff in the States, and then came back to the UK. Worked in a strength and conditioning facility in Portsmouth, worked with like powerlifters, like world champion powerlifters. So my strength journey sort of started then, like sort of mid-30s, and worked with a load of different guys who were doing sort of strongman competitions, like got involved with a bit of that, and sort of fell in love with the bug of it a bit to a degree, uh, and was told I was probably not going to be a good strength athlete. So obviously, again, the rebel in me decided that I was going to do something like that, and yeah, started competing in strongman. Like, I think I took it to a more professional level than what it was at the time. Obviously, now strongman's pretty fucking big.
Yeah.
The athletes are professional. They're really sort of like looking at every single little percentage, like half a percentage point they can get to become the best they can be. And I think at the time, I got in at a time when if I was to try and do it now, there's absolutely no way I'll be anywhere near strong enough to be able to do it. But I was taking an amateur sport professionally, which then made a big difference.
Mhm.
I managed to win a few regional titles like East Midlands Strongest, London Strongest, Northern England Strongest, all under 80 kilos, and then get to Britain's finals a couple of years on the trot and get to the World Championships finished. I actually got a thing on my reminder on my Facebook today that it was 7 years ago today that it was. And I was actually 1 point off the podium of third place, and I finished joint fourth, which is very frustrating now looking back. But at the time, I was absolutely buzzing with it. But yeah, that took me. I then went from sort of like a strength gym to a pure body transformations gym, like working with bodybuilders, FLF Performance Center in Manchester, which was an amazing experience working with some of the best coaches like around, like from a body composition standpoint. Taught me about, like, this was when I did my first photo shoot, not until I was 37, 38. I'd never even thought about body composition apart from weight cutting for sort of strongman. I'd never even like considered what my body actually looked like until I really sort of got into that facility. But I understand like how you now manipulate that much better. I understand that obviously having been an athlete for a long time, body composition was something that just wasn't ever a thing for me. But I needed to sort of like experience that, I think, to understand others going through their sort of body transformations a little bit more. I think it's important practicing what you preach to a degree and like experiencing everything. Uh, and then after that, my wife was from Cornwall and she wanted to move down to Cornwall, wanted to be back close to her family. We moved down here in 2019, so I took my sort of work online just before everything sort of hit pandemic wise. So I was very fortunate in that case. And yeah, I've been doing that ever since. I thought I'd created the life that I wanted, and then I realized that I was just frustrated at home. And
Mhm.
luckily, I was coaching Joe at the time, and he then just reached out and said, "Do you fancy coming on board?" And it's probably been the best decision I've made, like being part of a team. I know
Yeah.
you're part of a team now as well, and I'm sure you love, rather than just being on your own. And obviously, like, work previously for you was like part
Mm.
of teams, and I think I've always been part of teams, and it's like just so much more helpful. And I feel like, ending a long story now, I've sort of done a lot. I've been to a lot of places. I've worked in a lot of facilities. I've been in the industry a long time, and passing that on to working with coaches now is like really fulfilling for me. I feel like I can add a lot of value to people, and I can help not only coaches but obviously athletes in that way, because I can speak from experience, but then also with sort of the textbook knowledge at the same time. So that was a long fucking winded fucking who are you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's what you want to answer though, isn't it? You tell folk the story, but that's why I've appropriately named the podcast the hybrid OG. Because I feel like I always remember you saying like I was doing hybrid before I even knew it was hybrid. Do you know what I mean? Like this is the thing, and it's I think now everything's sort of kind of like got a shiny name and stuff, but like as you said, second person to ever do a Deca Ironman, like athletic background and just exploring different things, like that is the package of what a hybrid is, isn't it, man? But yeah, mate, like I always remember the story, like obviously as well, like I know I mentioned in the intro and stuff as well, but Dan was my coach for a period of time as well and took me through prep for the Keltman and stuff. And like the biggest thing that I took away from when I was in a high performance coach was the will that you gain from why you done the Deca. So like obviously the passing of your brother, that was an amazing talk that he delivered. Very, very insightful. And I think to this day, I still go out and do sessions and I think about if I'm not going to do the distance, I'm like, not it's like not 80, not 70, whatever it says, do the distance, no more, no less. And I still take that into my own coaching with my clients as well, man, because you just need to do the work, don't you? Do the thing that's required to get to there. So, no, mate, thanks very much for giving me a good insight to where you're at and stuff as well. So, see as well, mate, out of curiosity, like when you were like a coach for 13 years in the gym floor, how different was it then to what face-to-face coaching is now? Like, what's the sort of, if you were to look at it now and give a synapse of that?
Yeah, I think it was. This is obviously before the. This is before social media. So
Yeah.
like, if you think this was like 2000 onwards, like it was the influx of it, and I wasn't really up to it's like we both are right now. We're both sort of technophobes to a degree. Like I'm still am to a degree. And I definitely was back then, as in I wasn't really interested in like Facebook and Instagram, even though they were starting to come out in the sort of mid 2000s, whenever it was. Uh, so yeah, you were limited to like a little bit of research that potentially you go and do courses in person. Therefore what you learnt in that course you then would apply for longer periods of time. There wasn't the novelty that there is now, where you potentially see people changing things and just jumping on different bandwagons day to day, week to week,
Yeah.
session to session, because the principles were the things that you knew from textbooks, like rather than from an influencer that you just seen in a workout. Therefore, you throw it into someone else's workout. It was a much more sort of like considered path that you were taking with the client. But there was just less noise, mate, less noise about. It was just like your client in person working together. They were only listening to you because that was the only information they had. You were just like listening to them, motivating, keeping them accountable, and then just providing the service and like pushing them on the day. Yeah, it was a lot easier world, and like I sound like an old person, but it's like it was a lot simpler times.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like if you look at the longevity of a gym floor PT now, it's nowhere near like 13 years. Whereas I can imagine that was probably more normal. There wasn't as many coaches, obviously, in London where you were coaching. It would have been more common. It would have been up here in fucking Scotland at that time. But like, it's mad, isn't it? That like no noise has a lot to play in it. Like the thing with I was going to come on and talk about this and stuff as well. But like, sometimes information is great, but like that being ignorantly bliss is great. Like the fact now, like even seeing things with like Strava, like people hiding things, people paying for influencers, paying people to pretend to be them to get better results in their Strava, like this is like an actual thing now. Like it's fucking nuts. And like you sometimes talk to folk and you're like, are you even doing this for you? Like because they're so caught up in the other things, and I get it. And like it is great being motivated by other people, but at the same time, you sometimes it's like, why is that even coming into your mind right now? Do you know what I mean? Like, why is that something that you care about? But it is the amazing thing about social media is that like it's connected as all, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. But the double-edged sword to it is that it's making people compare themselves where they're not really kind of asking themselves why, they're just focusing on urge rather than like intentions. They're just like, oh, I feel this way right now. So I definitely makes people jump ship and do things a bit more erratically and a bit too prematurely as well, man. So I agree there. Mate, I absolutely love like your rants on socials, mate. I love your rants on like stories and stuff. But what I love about them is that they're like thought provoking and they're like different spins on things that's like because you've been in the game for a while, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like you've been there, done it, wore the t-shirt, you've done it yourself, you've coached people through face to face, online, body transformation, strongman, and now you're coaching. How many coaches are you coaching right now at this given moment?
I think 100 and something or so. Yeah.
So you're being programmed like AI, like you're getting literally like this ultimate algorithm fed into you, mate. So I understand where it comes from, like, and then you'll be a lot of coaches will follow you and stuff. Like at this sort of moment, mate, like like one of the things that really stood out to me was you were using this frame on dieting, and you were kind of like going, I know what you're doing. You were talking to the camera and you were talking about like, I know that you're so focused on cutting carbs, like eating, no, like you're still in this sort of diet mindset, but you're trying to be a bit of a hybrid. Like, what sort is it? How common is that now? Because I'm seeing it more and more with folk where they're kind of step into this more hybrid approach to training, where they're focusing on their performance, pushing themselves. Like, what's your thoughts on that at the moment, mate? Because like, I really enjoy you talking about it, but just I don't really know what I'm asking here. It's more to do with the fact that like, what's on your mind with that right now? Like, what are you being programmed? What are you thinking? What's the common things that are popping up regularly with this, mate? Because I think now like there's advanced levels to a diet mindset. Like you've got level one, which is like someone at Slim World, but then you've got this like level 10 that's like quite cryptic, and folk don't think they're doing it, but they're actually doing it.
Yeah, I think as you said, like everything, there's levels to all these different things, and I think at some point you got the two extremes where you've got your absolutely no idea whatsoever to your literally knows every single little ingredient, nutrient, mineral in every single thing they've got, and they're tracking all those things at the same time as well. Somewhere in that middle ground is where always the fucking happiness, the sweet spot, like we sort of touched on just before we came online here, is. And maybe you're going to drift towards one way, maybe you're going to drift towards the other. And I think the most important thing is that it's allowing you to thrive in life. Like this is the difference between that diet culture of like, particularly for an athlete, like whether we talk about hybrid athlete or whatever athlete is, like performance is built on health. Like it's built on health. And that means you can't be at either of those two extremes because health is not those extremes. And for the individual, it'll be somewhere in that middle ground. And you've got to work out where that is. Like exactly like we said before we came on, the sweet spot is the place you're trying to find. And that sweet spot is going to change. That sweet spot is going to change throughout the times of the year. It's going to change throughout the times of like the volumes and intensities of your training. And it's going to change like year on year as you grow, as you change as an athlete, as your levels, as you increase as a better athlete, your food is going to have to change at the same time. You can't do the same thing. And this is one of the things that it frustrates me to a degree, but then it also, I understand it as well at the same time because people are happy doing the same things. But it's like the same program that's got you to where you're at is not going to be the one that's going to get you to the next level. And just like the same diet that's got you to where you're at, it's not going to be the same thing that's going to take you to the next level as well. Body composition, of performance at the same time. Like you can have meals that work for you, but those meals need to be changed, reiterated throughout the year. It's like I always come back to one of the meals that I'll always have is if I'm in a huge calorie surplus. This is the one end of the spectrum, centered around like a whey, centered around like a granola, and then what goes in around this is going to completely change. If we've got a 40-gram post-workout whey, or let's say it's an evening one, so the calories can be a bit higher, it's a 40-gram whey. Now, if I'm in a dieting phase, that 40-gram whey might be with water, and it might be with rice, and it might be with some blueberries. That's as low calories I'm going to get with it. If it's the other extreme, it's a 40-gram of whey. It might be with granola. It might be with double cream, and there might even be some like peanut butter, cashew butter, or some of those sort of things added to it as well. That's the other extreme. So it's literally going from potentially 200 and something calories to 1,200 calories. Now that's the same meal, but that's manipulated up and down depending on where I'm at in my phase of training, how I'm feeling, performance-wise, digestion-wise, which is going to change on a monthly basis depending on how hard I'm pushing myself, etc. Where my sleep is, like if I'm really pushing myself to the 8th degree, my sleep is going to be affected. Therefore, I'm not going to want to have that many calories before I go to bed. I'm going to need to eat earlier in the day. So that meal changed from maybe 8 o'clock in the evening to maybe 5 o'clock or even 3 o'clock in the afternoon to make sure that I've digested it before I'm going to get a good night's sleep. So like nutrition is a full on thing. Like I've literally done my PN1, done my PN2, done an IOPN, done my CISSN. So like in terms of like nutrition, I'm a center registered sports nutrition in the UK. I don't even like nutrition. I don't even like it. I don't like talking about it because it's a fucking minefield and it's the biggest mind fuck there is. Like training is hard enough to talk about, but I think it's almost a single job on its own to a degree.
Mm.
And in that hybrid space where you're looking for performance, exactly like we said, there's levels to how far and how deep you need to go with this. in terms of how much you're going to manipulate it and what you need to know and what you don't need to know.
Yeah. To give you some context to what me and Dan were speaking about before this, he was just asking how I was, and we were chatting before we came the pod, and I was just saying, like, earlier on in the year, probably like May, June time, I didn't really see like a lot of for like a 3 month period, I didn't really see a whole load of progress, and I kind of like bumped myself out a little bit from training. Like physically, I was psychologically okay, but like just really flat all the time, not really pushing performance. But I was saying that it was necessary, and then Dan was saying like you need to find that sweet spot, like you need to go, and I always say it's getting burned. You need to get burned to then go, oh, that doesn't work. You need to live these lessons to actually get the most out of it. Otherwise, you just keep doing the thing. And I think like you're absolutely bang on the money there. Like when it comes to this sort of like purely aesthetic focus, because when you take care of the performance, the body typically takes care of itself, and you look better. Like if you look at yourself as an instrument, but what a lot of people now I see is like they'll start off, most people get into the gym and without being a bodybuilder, they kind of act like a bodybuilder, which is great for transforming your body. It's actually really good for improving your health if you've not actually tried to improve your health before, if you're conscious about your movement targets. But the biggest thing that folk forget about this is obviously on the high end of the spectrum, you get someone that pushes incredibly fucking hard. They're not going to be in the same category as someone brand new. They obviously need more food and more fuel. But genuinely speaking, a lot of it's low impact, isn't it? Like it's like steady state. Obviously, when you're in the gym, damaging muscle and stuff, it's not. But you can't progress beyond there keeping the same nutrition protocol in place as that you done there. If you're then adding in running, cycling, swimming, high intensity workouts, like something ends up giving. And that analogy you used there, not analogy, but you were saying about the same meal, but I always say it's like a lever. You just push the thing up and have more of the thing, and you're trying to fuel that fire there. But yeah, it is a minefield, isn't it? And I think a lot of people are looking for the silver bullet sometimes, and you're like, you get to a point where you have the fundamentals and the understanding, the know-how, but then it just becomes a game of intuitiveness. What's working, what's not working. And I think like a lot of people just need to be a bit sound with that. Like they don't need all the answers. And I think if you came from this very aesthetics, number-driven background, you can then sometimes be like, what do my numbers need to be? What does this look like? And it's like, I don't even do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'll have certain things that I go towards, but I'm not like hell bent on hitting a certain macro every day. There's certain calories and things that I'm trying to hit, and I'm going off of how I feel. But I think just going off of how you feel sometimes underrated. I mean, it really, really is.
I think, like you said, then like intuitively, the longer you're in the game, the longer you're doing these things for, the more intuitive you get, and the more you understand like what's going on with your body and how you can do it. The data is always going to be good, and like by using that, you can become better at it. But I still feel like you need to understand and feel your body better, and I think a lot of people can do that a lot better than what they do now.
Yeah.
Uh, like rash judgments when you start to see these little things that are coming in. And you got to, it's about noticing it earlier. It's like you said, we're trying to go to we're trying to push our boundaries to find out where our limits are. But each time we do that, we want to the closer we get to it, we should be starting to see this telltale signs before we then reach that burnout point, to then know that that's the time to then pull back. Like it could be your libido dropping. It could be the fact that you now like you're just not sleeping as well. It could be the fact that your temperature's up a little bit if you're looking at data, or the fact that your resting heart rate's starting to raise and you're not able to fall asleep as like quickly. Maybe you notice you're a bit more short tempered. Like all these little bits and pieces. Like each time you go towards that end, that far sort of end of that spectrum, it's like okay, there's one sign, there's another sign. Okay, there's a third one. Right, I need to fucking maybe either up my food, either get a bit more recovery, or I need to actually back off a little bit to a degree. And it's just like this, everybody is different. Like there's no individual like way this is going to work. And it's about like exactly as you've said, being intuitive, listening to your body, looking for the telltale signs, using data if you've got the option to be able to do it, and then making good decisions off the back of that.
Yeah. Who do you like? What are the characteristics of someone that you like after coaching so many athletes over the years, mate? Like, what are the sort of characteristics you look in someone that's going to be really malleable when it comes to this type of training?
They just crack on. They just buy into it straight away. They just get on with it.
Yeah, don't really question much.
They don't question much. They've already got buy-in. Like luckily for me, because I've been around a long time now, I get buy-in relatively. Still, people don't trust me, but after a period of time, when I break them down in the end, they start to buy into what they and understand. When you've sort of been there and like when you start, you've got to gain momentum. You've got to gain trust. But from the person who like comes in straight away and he's just like, right, yeah, I'm in this. I'm going to do what you say, and then just buy into it. Then they're the ones who are going to get the results really, really quickly. And
Yeah.
like because like in the hybrid, in like this space, this concurrent training where you're trying to stay as strong as you can. You want to be as fit as possible. You've got some sort of long endurance goal at the same time. It's going to change. It's going to change all the time. Like the goals are going to like the training's going to change. Like it's going to have to adapt. Like there's the starting point is could be anything. It's like the same with most people's diets. It's like, right, where are you at? Let's start you here, and then let's just check the data afterwards. Because when you're trying to run concurrent things, you just don't know how someone's going to recover from these things. So therefore, it's a case of go out, do, feedback. It's a trial and error so much to a degree to then move things up and down and to adjust and to make sure we get that person to that sweet spot.
Yeah. I can agree, mate. Like I'm curious to kind of hear your thoughts on this as well. Like, so again, like I keep using the example of entry level to me now is like it's not. I know that not everyone starts off this way, but genuinely speaking, most gym pop people will start off. They go to a commercial facility, a local gym. They'll follow a split. They'll follow certain folk for certain. They'll enable a calorie deficit. They'll prioritize protein. Right. That is like fundamentally how a lot of people start when they come in, but you can get away with having a bit of a poor mindset at that time. It will separate. Obviously, someone that's got a better mindset and attitude is obviously going to progress. What kind of impact can your attitude, like, what's the most like significant impact you've seen someone's like outlook and attitude affect the performance? Like, have you noticed that's something that can happen with people?
100%. Yeah. I still see it now. Like the the people who like tend to like I said before, the guys and the girls who just like are bought into it and believe in the process are the ones who make the most progress. Like the ones who are questioning, who are doubting, who potentially are being sort of like getting their heads turned in other directions, like are the ones that then you start to think to yourself, hang on a minute, this is probably not going to go long term here because in 12 weeks or in 16 weeks, you might have only just started to get to the bottom of what this person needs. You're going to have made progress because you're going to have taken them forwards, but you're only just starting to test where the limits. It's going to take 24, 48 weeks before we really start to go, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's your top end. That's your sweet spot right now. Now let's edge that sweet spot. So that sweet spot becomes your top end next year. And then afterwards, these things take a lot of time, but it's very, very rare in this world of instant gratification that you're going to get to work with people like lots of people for that long. The ones who make the best progress are the ones who stick around longest. Simple as that. Because I'm not going to be that person who's looking at the short term, who's going to go, right, I'm going to blitz you for this period of time to get the result. Because I'm like, the way we're going to do this is we're going to build the foundations along the way and we're going to go for this. Like some people are going to come in, of course, like are going to have goals and you're almost got to stick to it to a degree because you want them to hit the goal. But I'm going to make them very, very aware that, look, this is not the best way to do this. Would I advise this? Probably not. Are you going to do this really, really well? Probably not. Are you going to get through it? Yeah. Are you going to enjoy it? Probably not. It's going to be a hell of a fucking day, but you'll get it done. And then hopefully, if you bought in enough, we're then going to be able to build on this in the future.
Yeah. What I've definitely found, because I would say that I went into my first Ironman in 2021 like so premature. Like couldn't even swim. Like didn't have the power there, didn't have the like I'd done it and it was like it was a hard day out. It was tough. I was a bit ill and stuff before it anyway, but that ultimately led me to go back to the drawing board and just pinpoint that's not good enough. That's not good enough. You need to go and build this. And the only way for me to truly to do that was to actually feel what it was like to not actually like after you do something, you can actually pinpoint I lacked power there. Like my legs couldn't maintain at that point. I didn't have that. And I think a lot of people now, and it's like again, like that don't know if you experience this a lot, but like people are just like fucking trigger happy with events and stuff. And you're just like, whoa, 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 like let's just slow down, man. Let's just get this here. And sometimes I say it with confidence now because I know because I've seen it with and I've seen it myself. I've seen it with so many folk, but you're not saying that someone can't do it, but you're like that's probably more of a 2026 thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, see for where someone's like, look, like right now, someone's like, I want to do this and I want to do that. It's like, well, we can do it, but it'll probably be like this, and you'll probably not have a very good time, and you'll probably hate the fucking prep, and you'll probably be tired all the time, and you'll probably be exhausted all the time. Or we could do this. Build the engine, build the power, build the mindset, because if you don't have the mindset in place for it, like, and that's why I was asking that question, because I've seen a lot of people on paper even doing all of the right things, but like their mindset, man, I'm like, their attitude, their outlook, I'm like, oh, it's off right now. And they don't realize, like, and it's hard because, like, on paper, they're right. You know what I mean? They're doing the
Yeah.
thing, but like, you don't know what's happening in the four walls in their head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, people can talk themselves out of it altogether, and like that's where again, like coaching to a degree comes in, and like building people's confidence up. But like, you can't change the attitude of like people wanting to lose. Like some people will go through the process of getting there, and then they'll self sabotage themselves. Uh, there is actually a name for it when you get to the 90% point of like most goals, and then you just like you basically then just give up because you've pretty much done it, and like you're pretty much there. I can't remember something's Parkinson's law or something along those lines. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like when you then go, actually, fucking, I've done it. You just self sabotage yourself, and like you either pick up an injury or you find a way of like basically failing.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, that's that sort of like mind. That's that mindset of like, do they actually want to do this? And like as you mentioned, people now they just want to pick up medals. They want to just do things, and I get it. Like, cool, that's absolutely fine. But my question is always, how well do you want to do this thing? Do you want to do
Yeah.
it the best you can possibly be? Do you want to do it the best you can possibly do? Or do you want to actually just like get the medal and just complete it? And like that is those two things are very, very different things in how you're gonna do it. How long you're gonna prepare for, how well you're gonna prepare for it. And like that's neither for you or I to say or to judge or to whatever. It's just I'm more, do you know what? I'm becoming more that person because like now like it's hard for me to fucking like push myself to the point where I want to. And also as well, I don't feel like I've got anything to prove anymore. I don't really want to fucking go to those times. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I just want to go and just enjoy myself. The couple of things I've done this year, I've just got to enjoy myself. Like the competitive part of me when I got to the start line's gone, fuck, I wish I trained a bit harder now to like actually go for this.
Yeah.
But ultimately, in the day-to-day training of it, I just didn't have the desire to actually push, and I was happy to just go and enjoy those things. And that's neither for you or I to really judge it. Like we're just we're just different, and we've been at different times of our lives. We're going to be different again, like coming forward. You want to go and fucking win things. I used to fucking the only thing I was interested in was just winning everything. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't care about like finishing second or anything. Every act and action that I took was about putting me in the best place possible to win.
Yeah.
Now it's about actually, I need to be able to get up in the morning. I need to be able to pick up the dog poo for my dog without my back giving way underneath me. And I'm thinking more from a longevity standpoint, but it doesn't mean that from time to time I want to fucking be the killer again.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can relate to that big time because I wasn't super athletic growing up, and I'm going to come on and ask a question about it because you mentioned something at the beginning about motor skills and stuff. I'm quite curious to hear your thoughts on this, but like I definitely probably said like end of 2022 when I signed up to the Keltman and when I was working with like you and Joe at the time, and I would say that was probably when my competitiveness started to, because I was just like doing big challenges. Like I was just like, right, I'm gonna get this big challenge. But there was a part of me that knew that like the glory was in the challenge. But you know, from doing this stuff, like I wasn't a top level participant of these things I was doing. Do you know what I mean? And I was okay with that, mate, because I was new. But I would definitely say, mate, that I probably didn't trust myself enough to be the
Yeah.
person to do that because I didn't have enough of that evidence to be like, you are. And what's really done it for me, mate, as well, is like Ailey's a top percentile female athlete.
Yeah.
And that makes me want to be better. And it's like everything she does, mate, she gets a fucking podium and she qualifies for Boston Marathon, and I'm like, you can and it kind of open my eyes up to like, why am I not doing that? Like, why am
Like
I
my
like,
my strength journey, the whole of my strength journey, my wife was pound for pound stronger than me the whole time.
yeah,
Like squat bench dead was she was stronger than me, and all I was trying to do is just fucking be the strongest person in my house, let alone strongest
yeah,
person anywhere else. And
yeah,
like you said, like you do just like you need those inspirations, and your environment will always be that key. And if the person closest to you is elite, then
yeah,
fuck me, your attitude, your mentality, everything is going to be picked up at the same time as well. And like you said, like you need when you do these things, when you've got no evidence behind you to start with, you don't trust yourself, and you do start doubting yourself. And there are like these things, but the great thing is, as a coach, as you go through these things, you've experienced it, like just as your clients are going to experience it through the challenges that they take on as well, and you can empathize to a different level than other people can't do because you've been there.
Yeah, no, I know, and I can relate big time, man, especially to what you're saying about your wife, mate. Like, Haley's like pound for pound stronger than me, man. It's mad. It's fucking nuts, man. But yeah, it's you need to be in those spaces that are going to stimulate that. I definitely would probably say it was an element of like having probably you and Joe there in my world was that sort of like, wait a minute, man. Like, well, like, yeah, I'm doing good, man, and I'm above average, but like I'm not exceptional. Do you know what I mean? Like how do I do exceptional? And it's I always like classify it to like average, above average, exceptional, everyday athlete, because I'm not an athlete. Do you know what I mean? I'm not a professional athlete, but like how can I strive to be that point? It's like everyday athlete, it's the gap between there. And it's a hard fucking line to walk because I realized that the only way you're going to get there is like building up capacity. And then as I start to look at all these different athletes in different worlds, they're doing like 15 hours to 20 hours to 25 hours a week. And I'm like, all right, that's what work capacity, that's what it fucking takes, man. Like a lot of volume, like shit. Like you need
This is it.
dedication.
Like this is what's a lot. This again is one of those things that are getting a bit lost in this day and age. Like people, and I'm probably one of the proponents to it. And like I always want people to get the minimum, do the minimum amount of work to get the most progress. And I fully 100% believe in working smart. You earn your work capacity over time, but this doesn't mean you don't fucking you stop. There's no end to this. There is no end to this. Like last year, I could just literally, the longest time I'd ever been in a ski erg was 15 minutes. Due to years and years of building aerobic capacity, I could just go on a ski erg and just do 100 kilometers without even training or doing anything specifically for it. I could just go and do that. And again, I'll probably end up doing something stupid this year at the same time this year as well, just to show people that it's not about like building your 12 weeks for this. This is something that over time, like I said, I didn't do a photo shoot till I was 37. People look at you going, oh, what's going to be there? And then it's like, fucking hell, you look like that. I was like, what do you think I've been doing for like 25 years? Was a professional athlete and I've been fucking lifting weights for like 15 years. Did you not think I'd built something underneath here in that period of time? Like, of course, but this is accumulation of time. Like you said, you mentioned it. Your body will take care of itself. Your physique will take care of itself if you keep doing this for long enough and you keep pushing yourself to these levels. Like, you don't need to worry about those other extremes. But a work capacity, you've got to earn that over time. You want your business to go to the next level. You want your relationships and your training to go to the next level. You've got to put the work in and work in and work in and work in and work in until you just are a relentless motherfucker, basically. Like the guys I'm around, and you know Joe. Like I've never met anyone like his work capacity. Like in every aspect, it's just ridiculous. Like you think it's just fucking like it's just talk and it's just like the internet and what have you. Then you go and spend a week and it's like you're up at this time, you're fucking working all day, then you're training again, and then you're doing this. And it's like, right, I now need a day's recovery. Now it's the same every day. It's the same the next day. It's the same the next day. Like the top guys in sport, the top guys just are able to do more, but it's because over time they've just built that work capacity over time. And in this age, it's like, oh, it's about execution, it's about perfection, it's about just doing this minimal effective. If you're looking to do the minimums all the time, then unfortunately, that's just going to leave you in a like without any work capacity at some stage. Like there's got to be times when you've just got to put yourself in that doghouse, and that period of time, like you said, where you're almost at the burnout, was your period of time where you've actually really done the work to now reap
No,
the
yeah.
fruits of your benefits of the work that you've actually done to then go to take the step up to that next level again.
Yeah, it's the thing that I really. You ever heard the saying that was it? Youth is wasted on the young.
Yeah.
And that's where it probably comes from, man. Because you always go, I wish I knew that when I was younger. Like I wish I knew that. Like if I and it's like, well, you didn't, and you need to go for that. I'm always quite envious, man, in like a really positive way of like when I've got clients that are like fucking 22 or 23, and I'm like, man, and they're coaching with me and they're implementing, and I'm like, oh fuck, man. I'm like, why didn't I do that? Like, why didn't I do that? Because like they're just getting so ahead of the curve, man. Do you know what I mean? And it's not to put anyone off to say like you should or shouldn't do anything at all, but it definitely it's I'm very envious of it in a positive way. But something I really learned, like I've been working with John Wynn for since October last year. I'm going to get John on the podcast in a couple of weeks as well. And what John like, I came in and like, and I've been training for years, but probably training more. it's like anything, everyone goes, the last few years, but like probably training consistently for like 6 or 7 years. Do you know what I mean? Like actually really driving things forward. And it's intensified and intensified. And John was kind of looking at my numbers and stuff, and I told him what I'd done and where I was at. And he gave me this training load, Dan, that I was like, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck am I meant to do that? But what it taught me is like I kind of needed that pep. Like, so all that work that I'd done, then someone to go, yeah, mate, you're going to do like 3 double days a week. You're going to be doing like 80K a run in a week. You're going to do it on tired legs. You're going to do it when you're fatigued. But like, that was like, I wouldn't, I thought back to me when I was in the military, and I used to always like, have such I really looked up to the PTIs, mate. Like, and I wasn't even a PTI, and it's probably why I became a coach because I really looked up to like their uniform, like their presentation, the way they can, and they had to be the fitter folk when they went through training with us and stuff. And I was just blown away that like I didn't have that athletic background from a young age. I was like soft and fucking out like a marshmallow man when I was that age, man. Like I had like no shape, but I was fit and I could do it. And then like I was see that work capacity that they had, that was through competing at county level swimming or doing all these reps from a young age. And it just so happened that what that thing that they've been doing since 8 years old, I probably just started it when I was 18. So they had 10 years on me. Do you know what I mean? At that level of competitiveness. And that part you were saying there about work capacity, I get that. I get that big time because that's the miles in your muscle, isn't it? But I think I think John was probably a bit just sort of like probably overestimated me a bit, but then it's grew me. Do you know what I mean? It's like definitely like grew me, and it's built up this mad work capacity and engine that like I've never had before. So it's exciting when you can unlock these new levels of fitness and you're like, shit, I'm not even anywhere near my fucking potential, man. Like I mean, I think when you get someone say that to you when you're actually doing really well and hitting mad numbers, it's exciting, isn't it? Like you're like, shit.
And like again, it's like when you throw those things at people, like initially, like obviously he's seen something in you from a personality standpoint and from a goals like point where he's gone right. Let's see if this fucking guy's for real. Let's put him under some pressure and let's see what happens, like make or break type scenario, and then he can adjust it up or down regardless. And if someone's showing me that they've got that in them, then it would be a similar scenario of like, okay, they're talking a big game. Now, can they actually walk the walk? Like, let's actually put them way out of their comfort zone and let's see what they've actually got because this is just going to become their staple. And like in the end, it just becomes what you do. It's like
Yeah.
it's from a work perspective. Like it's working with the amounts. Like when I first came on with HPC, it was like coaching that many, like programming for that many clients, like having that many calls per week, etc. To start with, it can seem daunting, but then suddenly you're just doing it. And like before you even realize it, you're just doing it. And then it just becomes your norm. And then
Yeah.
if you drop down from there, it's like, fuck, well, this is a quiet week. It's like you said, it's like 80K a week or like 12, 13 sessions per week. It's like, well, it's going down to 5 sessions per week. Jesus, well, that's like, but the thing is, fitness will always be masked by fatigue. So when you take that fatigue away, that's when you're then going to perform. When you drop
Yeah.
those sessions, you drop that volume, you take your intensity up, suddenly it's like, holy shit, I have actually built something here. There's something seriously cool. Uh, but it all comes down to testing the boundary, take the volume up as much as we can, build the work capacity, then just drop down again, build the work capacity, drop down again, build the work capacity, drop down again. And like you can talk about that from any point of view. It's the same with your work, it's the same with your relationship, same with all those things. It's about how much can you actually tolerate, and like if you've got to tolerate it, if you've got so much shit going on in your life, you've got 3 kids, you've got this, you've got that, the other. If you really want it enough, you'll find a way, and then in the end, you'll be like, wow, I can fit all this in. I am just like sorting my time out much better. My time management is so much better because I do want all these things at the same time. And then I am managing it much better. And then suddenly it's like, right, those 10 sessions come down to 3 or 4 sessions, which is great and easy maintainable. It's like, fucking hell, well, I've got all this time on my hands now. Suddenly, because you've expanded yourself to a degree, like to see where your actual limits were. And I
Yeah.
think everyone should, at the right times of the year, when it's okay to do that, is to stress test, like
Yeah.
push your boundaries, then drop back in again afterwards.
Yeah. We there was a point after we done High Rocks Worlds and we had an ultra marathon, and it's funny like you say just like an ultra marathon, but because our volume had been so high, we just needed like a few specific runs, and I wasn't particularly amazingly conditioned for it. It wasn't an amazing run. Still done well. We only came 14th and I came 22nd at so it was good, like really good outcome, man. But there was a point where we went, now we're not going to do double days for a bit, and there was a point at the end of last year where like and I always remember when I done Ironman prep, like Keltman, when I done the Keltman with you, I was like, I can't wait for these double days to be done.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something that changed over the last year where like I've watched my power go up and my ability to recover go up. So like I love them. Like I'm like, and then when I took them away, I was like, me and Ailey were like, oh, like, like
This, and this is it. You found the thing that you enjoy. That's the difference as well. It's like
yeah,
swim, bike, run. You might not like
I
those
don't
things.
love it, man.
Exactly. And this is it. Like, this is not for everybody. But when you find the thing, it then doesn't become, you're not fighting to then go and do it in the first place, which is the huge, like, if there's a barrier straight away, like that you don't actually enjoy it, then it's like, fuck. There's the bit of like the scared or the bit of anxiety about going to do it. That's good. Like, you should be feeling, oh, this is gonna be a tough interval session, or this is gonna be a tough strength session, or like this like simulation is gonna be like fucking crazy today. That's fine. But if it's like, oh, I really hate swimming, or I really do not want to go on my bike for 5 hours in the rain, I don't want to do this, that's a different sort of feeling altogether, isn't it? And that's where
Yeah,
it's like, actually, you got to ask yourself, right, is this goal really, really worth it? Because am I
yeah,
going to get, is it going to be worth me putting all these hours in
yeah,
for the sake of it? What am I doing it for? Like, and that's why I say to people sometimes, like, in terms of their goals, like, quitting is not a bad thing if you're quitting for the right reasons, and you just go,
yeah.
actually, do you know what, this just doesn't align with me anymore, it's not working, I'm stopping straight away, because it's saving you time rather than quitting 2 months later. You just quit early, just fucking get it over and done with, and just move on to the next thing straight away.
Yeah. I think there's a difference. Like you need to earn your stripes, don't you? Like when, because sometimes folk are quite, they don't want to admit defeat because they've been so used to admitting defeat for such a large part of their life when it's been for the wrong reasons. So actually, when something's actually for the right reasons, they're kind of like having to be this like bravado, and they're like, no, I can't quit. And it's like, but like you need to read between the lines and like, is this giving you what you need and what you want? Like, but also at the same time, I'm a big advocate that you have to go through that stage of sucking at something and not enjoying it to then, because I didn't love my Ironman prep. It got dragged out. I got COVID right before it. Like it was fucking shit. Like it was rubbish, man. And then the tail end, I remember there was a point because you said the thing to me about masking the fatigue, and I was fucked, man. Right before the Keltman, I was so stressed and so fatigued, and you were like, "Mate, your fitness is being masked right now, like by fatigue." And you forget those times, but then you're also like, you know what? That's why doing the stuff and doing that thing is like it. Every time I've done events, because I think an event of that, an endurance event of that caliber, or an ultra marathon, or a stage back to back day thing that's an accumulation of distance, like they are so fucking horrible. There's nothing really nice about them. Like they're just hard.
As soon as you go over that sort of like 8 hour mark, I think there's nothing fun about this anymore. There's like
Yeah,
anyone who's like says, "Oh, this was really great, loved it." It's like, fuck off, mate. You're just
yeah,
lying. You didn't really enjoy it. Like, no one
yeah,
enjoys that shit. Yeah,
yeah,
you've got a bit of a screw loose if you're doing those things anyway. Like, which we
yeah,
know, which is fine. And like, it can be like you want to prove something to somebody, or you've got some sort of dark energy you want to get rid of, or like you're doing it like a big why behind things, or you're testing yourself. You want to see if you've still got it to a degree as well.
yeah.
Like, you want to like see what it is you've got.
Yeah, because when I've done these things, I've done a couple of big things. I've done a 24-hour charity event once that was on an island that was mad. That was really good doing that. And then I've done Ironman and I've done Keltman. They sort of like, if I'd say most notable things that were like quite big. And I was really emotional after all of them because I knew what it took to be there. But like when even got to World Champs for High Rocks, loved it. It was amazing. I'm quite addicted to it, but I wasn't like elated with emotion. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like
Yeah.
kind of like, even though like the prep for that's been horrendous and it's been hard, but like I don't know, it's just different. I think like it's a journey, isn't it? You go through like a full. I think these are like. I think these endurance events, like the human, we're the best at enduring, but like I feel like it's a rite of passage. I feel like when I served in the military, one of the things that like I really liked was like being part of something. Like I really like that feeling of like you had a badge, and I liked that there was prestige amongst different like regiments, and I just thought it was cool, man. And I just feel like when you do these things, like that's what they do for you. They make you go, well, I'm fucking part of something. Like I'm actually part of this bigger picture, and it's like, and I feel like that's what you do these things for. Like I don't particularly feel massively fulfilled going on my bike for 5 hours. Like I don't really like cycling. Sold it recently, sold my bike. Wasn't that bothered about
Yeah.
it. I don't particularly love swimming, but like there's certain things I know I love, and I think you just need to recognize and identify like what season are you in for the thing that you want. Is it like, do you want to go through this as like a rite of passage? Is like a you want to fucking go and experience what it's like to meet a version of yourself you've never met before? Do you want to go and do something and perform at an incredibly high level? Do you want to, do you know what I mean? And you need to kind of identify what those things are. But yeah, mate, yeah, I was going to say something about Joe as well, but like, see, you were saying about Joe having just like an abundance of energy. Like when I was doing Keltman prep last year, Joe hadn't cycled, right? In like 5 months on a bike. I was like fit on the bike. And that I remember that day I was actually a little bit frazzled because my heart rate was up. And me and Joe went out on an 80-mile bike and he hadn't cycled and he was leading the cycle.
Yeah.
I was like, mate, what is wrong with you? Like, I was like specifically trained on the bike. And he's like, I haven't been on this bike for ages, man, like taking it out. And he's like,
We did.
absolutely.
I'll tell you a story now. Like, do you know Reese McGinley and Ollie Russell?
Yeah, yeah, I follow Ollie, yeah.
So both of those two are High Rocks winners, yeah.
Yeah.
And we went during a training camp in Portugal last year. There was these two guys. There was like 20 or 30 people, and we split them into different groups who were doing they're doing 400. I think it was 300 repeats actually, and you had to be in with a certain time. And Reese, Ollie, Joe, and there's another couple of lads in there, Ryan Smith, who again good High Rocks athlete, and another lad in there as well. And Joe absolutely destroyed them. These are like High Rocks like winners, High Rocks winners.
Yeah, yeah, I know who they are. These are like athletes, man.
He literally put them to the sword. Literally put them to the sword, and like to the point where we were going to do. I think we were going to do like 12 or 13. We ended up because they were getting competitive, doing 17, 18, and then they started dropping out. Like couldn't make the time, or like starting to pick up bits and pieces. And literally, Joe's carried on going. I think he got to 24 and just like stopped, just because he was now on his own. There was no one else there, but he did a couple of extra just to like hammer it home to the boys of like, there's levels to this game, and like, yeah, just to the point of like, actually, look, I don't even compete in this shit. I'm not even doing it. And like, this is a bit of like the High Rocks thing, isn't it? It's like, I think we all know, like, whether it be strongman or, although strongman's a bit more professional now, but like High Rocks or Athex or whatever, these sort of like hybridy sort of games things. It's like there's probably an NFL athlete who could, or there's probably a professional sports person who could come and wipe the floor with everybody in here. But in this arena at this particular time, these guys are the best of what the best there are. But there's guys out there who cream these sort of like sports at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate, I see earlier on this year the comparison thing. I definitely experienced, and I've spoke about this in a vlog and stuff, the comparison thing with High Rocks because I was looking at it with a magnifying glass, and I think a lot of people do. And what I've just started doing is just like I don't look at it as high rocks anymore. I just look at it as like different elements and fundamentals that I'm just trying to get really fucking good at because
That's
that's
it.
I'm not just trying to do it for high rocks. I'm trying to do it to be ready for anything. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to do it to be and like and what I've found is that my enjoyment for runnings went through the roof. My efficiency with runnings went through the roof. I'm striving to be fat. Like I'm not just like and I'm going back to the roots of like probably what I lacked and what I made up for in my mindset before was where I lacked physically, but now where I actually have fucking abundance physically, I lack with my mindset. And I had to go and lose myself there a little bit to then go, wait a minute, man. You're the guy that like people fucking like used to always identify as the last one standing. Be that guy. It doesn't matter if you're not fucking a sub 60 high roxer yet, but like just be the guy that just will just keep going. Like, you know what I mean? Like, be that guy. He's a good guy.
If you be the guy who just keeps going and you keep doing it in the right way with a great coach, etc., you'll become the High Rocks guy who's sub 60 anyway, because
Yeah.
you've stayed in the game long enough. That's all it's about. All it's about
Time.
is sticking to the same plan long enough in the same progressive like coaches who are going to take you on that journey. If you trust the person who's going to take you on the journey, you don't need to change.
Yeah.
Like, because you're on the path and you're just going to keep making progress. The problem is that people set, and I put a post about it, goal setting the other day. People set unrealistic goals. They expect themselves to achieve like so much in short periods of time, yet they don't look longer down the line. They can achieve so much more in a long period than they ever will do. But they're just all they're focused on is like they're going right. I've done 110. I want to do 105 at the next one. It's like, how about you just want to beat 110? Just beat 110. Just be better than what you've ever done before, rather than going, you want to do 105. You can't control on the day the conditions or anything else. You can just go and run the best you can possibly do. And if you can beat 110, then you're already better than you've ever been before. That
Yeah.
should be a win, because the problem is when you put 105 on it and you don't get 105, you then don't celebrate. you then see that as a negative thing, that you've beaten and you've become the best that you've ever been, but it's negative because it was 106 or 107. Yet you've actually fucking won. You've
I know,
actually
mate.
beaten yourself. This is people's problems. They have these crazy ideas of what they should be able to do when they have no, like you had with the Keltman, you had no evidence of what time you could get for it.
Yeah,
Therefore, you shouldn't set a time on it because it's your first time doing it. And every course is different for High Rocks, for Ironman, for everything. It's a case of like, can you just beat what you did last time? Not 2 hour beat or 5 minute beat or whatever. Just beat what you did last time. And that's
yeah.
fucking the best you can do.
Yeah, I see a lot with like running folk are just like doing the first half marathon, need go sub 2. It's like, no, you just need to do the first fucking half marathon. Like, or I
It could
need
be
to
a
do this. And
PB for you. Yeah.
it's like we don't even know what do you like folk asking, what do you think my high rocks would be? It's like you've never done one.
Yeah.
Like you don't know how you're gonna fare up. You might have a meltdown on the day.
Yeah.
You might get on your own way. Like how frequently can that happen in a normal workout? Like just go and do the thing, see where it's at, and then build on it. But I experienced that the other week, man, and I was actually annoyed at it afterwards. Like we went out and the conditions were not great, and I was going for my goal was sub 38 for 10K. Bearing in mind, like I've never like my actual road PB is 40-40, right? Even though I've actually done 39 minutes in the treadmill and stuff, and I've done it during, and I'm
Different,
not
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, it's different. But I was like road PB, 40 minutes, 40 seconds. Done it 2019, mate. Literally like no specific training, just went out and done it at Kilmarnock 10K. Like I don't, I don't even know how I done it. It's just pure willpower and hopefulness. And I went out and it was a couple of weeks ago and it was the worst night ever, mate. Like it was like I don't know if you've seen the weather in Scotland, but like we had our summer last week for one day. Like
Yeah.
so like yeah, it's gone now. Well, it's actually sunny. It's just been raining though, but mate, it was like I'm surprised the event never got cancelled, man. But it was that it's quite a competitive run as well. There's local Harriers clubs and all that coming. Last year, the winner had done it in like 31 minutes or something. So it's quite competitive. And I was like, right, I'm gonna go top 20 finish. Like that's my goal. I said top 10. I was like, I need to be sub 35. I was like, I'm not there yet. I was like, right, top 20. And it was like the worst conditions ever. And I actually set my expectations. And it was like, I would get a PB regardless. And I finished it. I done it in 40 minutes and 7 seconds, right? And it was one of the hardest runs I've ever done in my life, mate. Like the wind was like there was a point where you were running into a brick wall. So I know it wasn't an accurate representation, but what I was so annoyed about was the fact that in 2019 I'd done a more efficient, better fucking like obviously it was faster. But afterwards I was annoyed. I was like annoyed about it. And like I was annoyed. I also knew that I was capable of more. And I knew that I would obviously it would be, but I was probably more annoyed about the fact that like I was going, I've only taken fucking 33 seconds off that in 4 years.
Yet you still took
I
33.
know. That's
This
it.
is the problem. Like people's expectations, like can sometimes, and like you said, conditions played a massive part on that particular day itself. But it's also like, what gives you the right to expect more? Like
Yeah.
you've done the training, but you haven't done the race itself.
It's
And this
not,
is
yeah.
like when people say to me, like, I can get a pretty accurate predictor of your marathon, of your half marathon, based off of your 5K or your 3K or your 10K, etc. I can like get a pretty good reaction where you're going to be. If your numbers for the lower runs are not stacking up, you're not going to do the faster one. It doesn't just suddenly happen on the day that you suddenly just like all the evidence that we've got building up to now is telling me that you're not going to do it. You're not going to suddenly just do it. It doesn't happen like that. You don't go in a gym and go, right, your predicted 1 RMs are like 120, and then suddenly you're going to go and lift 150. Like it just doesn't
Mhm.
happen. Like people don't just suddenly jump by that much. And it's like I just think in this day and age, like for you, it was like because the conditions weren't quite right and you had expectations of doing better. And I get that. And it's probably in your head, if you're honest with yourself at the time, you probably knew it probably wasn't going to happen, but you gave it everything anyway, and you just came up short. And like in another day, you maybe run 1 or 2 minutes faster, as you do. But for a lot of general population, like you mentioned about your guys about running high rocks PBs and half marathons, it's like they can't even comprehend what it takes to run those times. Yet are telling me they're going to run a sub 3 hour marathon or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're not going to run a sub 3 hour marathon.
Yeah.
No, but like I did 3:30 last year, and I didn't really train for it and everything. No, I don't think you understand what it takes to run a sub 3 hour marathon. Like we're talking like the elite, like elite-ish. Like it's fucking pretty fucking
Yeah.
good. Like you're not just gonna run a sub 3 hour. Like it's like these again. It's like when you talk about the Keltman, the effort you went through, the training you've gone through, and how long it's taken you to do it. And then some people just come up to you and go, Yeah, if I had the time, I could probably do that. It's like, no, you couldn't. You couldn't
Yeah.
just, you don't just rock up and just do these things. Like, it takes a serious amount of preparation to do something like that. If you want to run something fast, really fast, or lift something really heavy, or get to those top levels, it is a fucking big commitment of a lot more than what you expect it to actually be.
Emotionally as well, isn't it?
100%,
Yeah.
100%. But
Yeah.
like stealing joy and stealing like like a celebration from yourself by putting like a not I don't even it's not even unrealistic. It's just like putting something that's slightly out of your zone. And I get it. People do it because they want to stretch themselves, but it's like a PB is a PB. If you do something better than you've ever done before, that deserves to be celebrated, and it should be in a positive way, not in a fuck's sake. I didn't do that. I didn't make the time that I wanted to.
Yeah. 100%. This is the attitude part, isn't it? It comes
Yeah,
into
it's that
something.
attitude. Exactly that attitude.
You have to. I heard something recently, and it was Ross Edgley said it actually, and it's like, in order to win, you have to be willing to lose. No, it was. I think it was Hunter McIntyre. I think it was in a vlog, and it was like you need to be willing to lose. Like, and that's not losing, that's winning. But like, I think what a lot of folk don't realize, and it's like when you've played a game for where you see a lot of that negative mindset come about, is that if you've played that game of playing subpar for so long like you became so adverse to taking risks that when you do, you feel so exposed and
Yeah,
it makes you feel awful. And that's like because like you've just built up this mindset through not taking action. And that's like you just need to expose yourself to that more. And again, like you need to find the sweet spot as we were talking about, like do it and you need to suck. Like I think you need to embrace being a beginner. You really, really do. But yeah, mate, like I know you said that you've only got like an hour today, mate, so I won't keep you much longer. There was one more question before we kind of rounded things off, because again, one of the big things that I wanted to really emphasize is like the amount of people you have coached, the amount of people you are coaching, and the algorithm that's getting fed into Dan Reeve's brain is the thing that I wanted to kind of pick a bit more. But what are you seeing a lot of right now that's quite counterintuitive? That's like quite a counterintuitive thing that's regularly coming up.
I think it's probably the switching of the medal collecting and the switching of goals so often.
Yeah.
Uh, like it's counterintuitive to me because I'm so looking at it from a point of view of like we mentioned over the whole of the time of like everything we're doing is just building and building to the next level, to the next level. And I'm looking at it further down the line. I'm not looking at these short-term little things that we want to tick off. And I get it to a degree. People want to have these shorter-term goals. But when they're in such different directions and they're taken away from the fact that you could be training for a 12, 16, 20 weight process and getting better and like have something at the end of that where you've achieved something rather than 8 weeks competing, 8 week competing, 2 or 3 weeks competing, 2 or 3 weeks competing, whereby all you're doing is like maintaining because you can't actually get any better because all you're doing is having to deload for the intensity because you want to compete again, to deload to the intensity because you want to compete again. It's like you've almost wasted 2/3 of the year or a third of the year, half a year,
Yeah.
just competing, and you didn't get any better in any of that time. You just literally stayed exactly the same. So you've lost, like, which could be in your prime years of like getting better. You've lost such a big period of time. It's like choose one, maybe two things, go for them all in for that year, and then forget about everything else.
Yeah, I had the exact conversation with a client today, and I wasn't saying it in a negative way. They were just talking about they were saying like when they came in, they're an absolute athlete, so capable. They'll be listening back to this podcast as well, and they'll know exactly who I'm talking about. But they basically were saying that like they can be like a dog with two dicks when it comes to like events, basically, and like signing up to things. And I was just explaining that exactly what you said right there. Like what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a deload, there's a recovery after. But then let's say, for example, you have two events that are similar but not the exact same within a 2 week gap of each other, right? And you're also prepping for something else that's 6 months down the line. That's a month out of your prep because you need to build, taper, recover. Then you're not going to push anything because you're still at 5 days out for you, not another event. Then you're going to do that. Then you're going to have to recover again. That's a month. It's not to say that it's not good, bad, right, or wrong, but like you have to be like, what is the task at hand here? Like, what is my A event? Like, is this really the important thing right now? And what do I actually want? Because as you said, like if someone's happy medal collecting and they just want to go around and I want to do this and I want to do that, like, by all means do it. But if people are like, I want to get really good at this thing, it's like just about having that singular focus. It's underrated, isn't it?
This is it. Like I get now in this day and age, like that you need to book these things and like they're so oversubscribed, which is so cool that like so many people are getting into all these different like hierarchies, hybrid type competitions, ultras, runs, etc. But it was like I take it back 15, 20 years, like I said, like I'd be playing football on a weekend. There'd be an ultra the next day. I'd just go and fucking do it. There'd be like some CrossFit competition that was just starting out in the 2000s, and I'd just go and do it. And it was like, it was just a consequence of like what you were just training. Like I didn't peak for these things. I just was just able to do them.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's like I didn't need a 12-week like training phase to like peak for something. I just do it
Mm.
because I just could do it. And I think that mentality is lost a little bit more now. It's like, just be ready and be happy with like what you can do. Choose your one or two things that you want to be really, really good at throughout the year and you want to train towards. Because if you're choosing three or four that are in a short period of time, that means that 20 weeks that you're building up to it is split three ways because you've got three different things. Therefore, you're not getting good at one of them anyway. Like, so therefore, you've got to have a little bit more of specificity towards the other ones. So it's like you're doing now. It's like we mentioned with Joe. It's like you're building a huge base for your running right now. But I bet you, if you go on and got on a bike, you'd be better cyclist now than what you were before. Because
Yeah. I actually said this
too,
recently. Yeah.
like your efficiency and your economy from your VO2 improving, like your overall physiological numbers have improved, will make you a better cyclist regardless of whether you've been on a bike or not. Because you're just fucking fitter. It's the
Mm.
same thing. You focus on just getting aerobically fitter, ideally with running if you can, and you focus on getting like turning into a powerful, strong machine in the gym, you can pretty much go and do anything. If your training is based around those two things as a hybrid athlete, right, you can pretty much just rock up and just turn up and just do anything you want.
Yeah,
Literally.
that's probably what I've discovered over the last year, mate. That's what I feel right now. Like I feel like so strong, feel really fast, feel heavy, feel lean. And I'm like, how's this? How have I got to this point? It's the years of just getting it and then realizing what the noise is, what's not important, what's important, and keeping it simple, man. And so yeah, so mate, thank you very much for coming on today. That really picked up towards the end. There was a lot of good stuff shared in that, and a lot of people will really, really benefit from this podcast as well, mate, with your knowledge. So mate, I really, really appreciate your time, big time. Can you add in where everyone can find you, mate, if they want to follow you, and if you want to add anything in, feel free to add anything in, mate.
Yeah, no, I am at Coach Dan Reeve on Instagram at the High Performance Coach also. And then I've actually just started up a podcast this week.
Yeah,
I
I've
did
seen
my
that.
first thing last week. It's called the Performance Hobbyists, uh, which is a weird name, but I like it. It's with two other guys, and we just basically similar-ish to what we've been talking about. Like we just chat, talk about what we're doing, where we're going, what things we've seen as like coaches in that week. Uh, and just general chit chat. But yeah, those are the places you can find me. Appreciate your time today, mate. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. As always, whatever platform you're watching this on, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're on Spotify, give us a rating. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please do that. But other than that, hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you in a bit. See you later. Goodbye.